that Wallace had suffered a life-threatening heart incident because of the stress caused by attempts to serve the Rule 202 petition. The It Ends With Us saga is not for the faint of heart.
We now have multiple people who have been hospitalized due to the stress of daring to work with this woman.
Blake Lively just faced her biggest cancellation yet, after one of the men she sued suffered a heart attack. Turns out, tossing around shady lawsuits like confetti can land someone in the ER. Personally, I feel sympathy for Jed Wallace, based on what we know so far. Honestly, being anywhere near Blake these days feels like putting both your career and your life at serious risk.
I feel sympathy. My personal view is I feel sympathy for Jed Wallace on what I know thus far.
Jed Wallace isn't just another name caught up in the controversy. His involvement strikes at the core of why Blake Lively's legal strategy is crumbling. Wallace was a former PR executive closely connected to Wayfarer Studios, the company co-founded by Justin Baldoni.
Jed Wallace, he, according to the potty-trained princess, is a key player in the retaliation campaign against her.
More significantly, he had direct insight into everything that went wrong behind the scenes at Jones Works, the PR firm, at the center of this entire scandal. Interestingly, Blake didn't initially include Jed Wallace in her lawsuit.
Team Baldoni has repeatedly denied any retaliation, any smear campaign, and a perceived astroturfing is all organic, truly, because people can make up their own minds based on everything that the plantation princess has said and done.
What made Wallace such a threat to Blake and her legal team wasn't just his connection to the situation. It was his detailed knowledge of the timeline. He knew exactly when things started to go south, who said what behind closed doors, and how Blake's public statements didn't match what was actually happening at Wayfarer.
In Blake Lively's initial lawsuit, she did not include Jed Wallace. However, in the amended complaint, he was added alongside Baldoni.
Wallace wasn't spreading rumors. He had first-hand access to internal emails, meetings, and decisions. Blake's team quickly realized how dangerous that was. Instead of confronting the facts, they tried to frame him as a rogue player.
The soon-to-be 50-year-old alleges that Jed Wallace, who lives and works in Texas, is the person most responsible for the astroturfing against her, which has hurt not just the burgeoning baker, but also Blakey Crocker's family and her businesses.
They claimed he couldn't be trusted, that he was acting out of revenge or had a hidden agenda. But that tactic fell apart fast. His employment history, contracts, and the projects he worked on were all backed by clear documentation.
Jed Wallace filed a lawsuit in Texas against her first. And now the Queen of Hearsay has filed a motion in Texas to be dismissed from Jed Wallace's lawsuit.
That's when panic really set in. If Wallace's version of events held up, Blake wouldn't just lose control of the story. She stood to lose everything she was fighting to protect.
Jed Wallace evaded and obstructed Miss Lively's persistent efforts to seek information from him before filing this lawsuit in anticipation of becoming a party in the New York litigation.
Her entire claim of being the target of a smear campaign would unravel. Wallace's credibility was strong enough that simply discrediting him wasn't going to work. The only way to counter him was to challenge actual evidence. And Blake's team wasn't ready for that. Things escalated when Wallace submitted a formal declaration under penalty of perjury. He's now suing Blake Lively for defamation in California.
On January 23rd, Khaleesi, in her own mind, after trying to serve Wallace at his gated property, her process server received a text message from an associate of his lawyer,
declaration
Brian
was just
Friedman.
2 pages long, but it delivered a major legal blow. He explained how Jones Works, the PR firm working with Blake, manipulated the media timeline to support her narrative. Quote, "After launching a retaliatory social media campaign against Ms. Lively, the plaintiffs are now attempting to pull her into a foreign court without jurisdiction to further punish her for protected communication." Even more damaging, Wallace claimed he faced retaliation and intimidation for refusing to be part of the cover-up. According to him, the moment he said he wouldn't lie to protect Blake or Jones Works, he became a target. His job opportunities vanished. Poor Jed Wallace, he's lucky to still be standing. The rest of Blake's motion was standard legal talk, no specific defamatory remarks and so on. But Wallace's name was quietly blacklisted in networks where Blake held influence, and it all happened after he pushed back against the false narratives. Just 2 pages may not seem like much, but the legal impact was massive. Last night, in Texas federal court, Blake Lively filed 802 pages in an attempt to dismiss Wallace's lawsuit. He didn't need hundreds of pages filled with speculation. His statement was straightforward, concise, and legally powerful. It introduced 2 serious legal angles: witness tampering and wrongful retaliation.